talks about right livelihood. And you might think this talk is idealistic, but I'll explain why the Buddha talks about right livelihood. If you think about it, you spend most of your evenings with a partner, a wife or husband, or someone else very close to you in whichever form. So your evenings are spent, hopefully, with some loved ones, and all of your mornings are spent with your work. This is after you grow up. Some of you are still trying to grow up, but after you grow up, then you spend most of your mornings with a profession. And that's a huge, huge percentage of your life. And the Buddha talks about you choosing the proper livelihood. And essentially, if you think about it, a person multiplied by like 70 million makes a society, and a society makes an economy. So if we take individual people and educate them, raise their consciousness about proper ways of making a living, then one person times 70 million is a nation, and then the nation altogether creates an economy. If these people are thinking wrong in terms of the livelihood that they are selecting, then the whole society becomes corrupt. And once the whole society is corrupt, then we've got a corrupt economy. In other words, we're all interrelated, whether we like it or not. Our biggest enemy is passivity. So the Buddha says, let's say there's a slaughterhouse that is slaughtering cows in a very inhuman way. And if 5 of us are eating steaks 3 times a week, then through our passivity of going to the steakhouse 3 times a week, we are supporting the slaughterhouse. The proper means of livelihood that the Buddha talks about is that your livelihood should not be coming from killing of humans, plants, and animals. Your livelihood should not be coming from drugs, alcohol, either manufacturing them, distributing them, or encouraging other people to use it. Your livelihood should not be coming from fortune telling. This is an interesting one. The Buddha says, if you have a neighbor who's very insecure about their current circumstances, and you're making your life out of reading coffee cups or tarot cards or their palm, and your intention is just to make money, then you're making use of people's insecurity and superstition. And you're not really contributing anything to that person's own sense of intuition, self-reliance, discipline, to make a life for themselves. Other things, any kind of slave trade or taking advantage of other people in order to make money. Think about the early 1900s, New York City. A whole bunch of immigrants with their children landed in New York City, and they used to take children and get them into these big workshops that produce textiles and garments. And these were like 7-year-old children. Or when the automobile factories first came up in the early 1900s, an average of 10 people per week used to die from the heat of the fire that was smoldering the steel. The steel plants, the automobile plants. used to kill people regularly, or working in a coal mine. People who work in coal mines get their lungs infected. And the Buddha says, if you're the owner of that coal mine, you're actively killing people. Or a bar owner. Here's a question. What if you are somebody who inherited a whiskey plant from 2 generations back? It's not your fault. Your great grandfather created a business manufacturing whiskey. And you never finished college because you knew that your dad would give you the bar or the whiskey plant. So what do you do now? And the Buddha says, well, meditate, pray, go into a state of mindfulness, continue meditating, continue praying, continue living with mindfulness until you receive some answer, some solution about how you can change your profession and raise the consciousness of people through your job, be kind and compassionate through your job, support other people through your job. The selling of firearms, the same thing. The first world countries like Germany, England, France, United States manufacture a lot of arms, firearms. And then they convince some of these simpler societies that they have enemies. So every year they're selling millions of dollars or euros worth of arms to very, very simple societies like Afghanistan. So they convince these countries that they have enemies and they should be buying arms. And the Buddha says, the owner of that gun factory might be living a very luxurious life. But the Buddha says, in essence, these people don't like themselves. In other words, if you're living a good life selling whiskey, deep inside, you don't really like yourself. Or your family has problems. Your children have problems. Or if you're a drug dealer like Escobar, you're not sleeping well at night. Your family's all broken up. So, some people say, Kambiz, I know a couple of drug dealers in Miami, Florida. They all have Ferraris. They all have mansions. So what is this talk about right livelihood? But pay attention to their inner lives. Are they sleeping? Do they have one love in their life? Are the children sound? Are they afraid of being shot every day or being arrested? This is what we mean about, peaceful life. Now, let's go to the other side of the coin. Let's say that you're a teacher and a mom, or you're protecting animals in a shelter, and then the city or the state cuts down on the budget, so your animal shelter goes out of business. Should you then become a butcher instead? And the Buddha says, no, be brave, pray, do your meditation, stay mindful. So don't go from teaching to working in a butcher shop. Be courageous, continue serving people in some way. And the one who inherited the whiskey plant from other people, okay, keep praying until you find another alternative. You know what's really interesting about the God force? The God force, being a quantum energy field, is going to pick on you, pick on you, pick on you until you are forced to get rid of your main weakness. Let's say you're a jealous woman. The God force is going to keep bringing flirtatious boyfriends to your life, continue making you jealous until you realize that you cannot trust your jealous mind. You'll be forced to leave jealousy or whiskey or killing animals for a living. What I'm just trying, this is not judgment. The God force loves you a lot. And it'll find 2 or 3 of your weaknesses, and it wants you to reach godliness. So it'll keep picking on you, on your mental flaw, until you get rid of that flaw. It could be jealousy, stinginess, cruelty. The God force will keep picking on you, and through pain, you'll be forced to change. And then, changing is not that hard. Changing means getting rid of some sort of craziness. Like too much jealousy is a kind of craziness. Too many cigarettes is a kind of craziness. Too much coffee is a kind of craziness. We're not talking about being judgmental. In my view, everybody is crazy in some little way. And the God force is going to keep picking on you until you release that craziness. It's not that difficult, it's just that we resist. A jealous person just continues being jealous. Somebody who's lustful with pornography, they just hang on to it. It's hanging on to craziness. But the God force will not leave you alone. Think about passivity. Are we supporting the steakhouse, the slaughterhouse? The US is a very interesting place, because it's got a huge number of universities. But if you think about how teachers are treated in the United States, it's shocking. Your nursery school teacher that is actually forming human beings' minds is not regarded as highly as somebody who trades stocks in the stock market. An investment banker is much more respected in the US than somebody raising 2-year-olds. We get productivity mixed up with right livelihood. Productivity means more. Even if you take 7-year-old children to a workshop to produce garments, we just want more. That's productivity. Livelihood means, are you deriving meaning from your job? Is anybody getting any love from your job? Are you uplifting anybody through your job? Are you being kind to plants, animals, children, other human beings through your job? Also, is your job in line with your natural talents? The Buddha has 3 very interesting formulas about how you treat your wealth. So, once you work and you derive some wealth, then the Buddha has some suggestions about how you treat your wealth. His first rule is your wealth making you happy? If you have $50 million and your wealth is making you miserable, then your wealth is not doing you any good. So your first question, no matter how much money you have, is the amount of money that you have, is the money itself making you happy? Second rule, you should take a certain percentage of your wealth and give it to some friend who needs it, some organization that needs it, or a high spiritual person who's serving hundreds and thousands of other people, or a place of worship. Now, one rule about donations. A lot of people are making donations to reduce their income taxes. And that's okay, but that's not really a pure donation because you want to derive benefit from your donation. Number 2, some people make donations because they want to buy an insurance policy from the God force. So some people say, dear God, I want a new girlfriend. So if I donate to the church this Sunday, will you give me a new boyfriend? So a lot of people make donations as business negotiations. There's a third group of donators. They never see the person who receives their donation. So you go to a very fancy country club, everybody shows up with their checkbook, and they donate money to a blind children's hospital. But they never see these blind children. They're just signing checks. And that lacks soul. The next time a beggar or a homeless person comes up to your car in an intersection, can you look into their eyes, say hello, ask for their name, and see what their life is about, instead of just handing a dollar bill? Because when you hand a dollar bill, you're not really making a connection. Most people have very poor connections with street people and street beggars, or people playing the guitar in the subway. People throw coins, but they get very nervous if the guitarist stops and says, oh, hello, good morning, what's your name? They just want to throw more coins. Bad relationship with beggars, street people. Now, it's okay if you say to the person, you're coming too close, but make contact, make some sort of contact. So examine your donations. Is it to buy an insurance policy from God? Is it to reduce your taxes? Is it to not make contact with the person or people that you're donating to? And then the Buddha says, the moment you get this idea of my money, my car, my property, then you're in trouble, because the ego latches on. There are only two motions you can follow in your daily life. Look at this: constriction, expansion. Constriction, expansion. Now, the words me, my euro, my dollar, my property, that's constriction. The word us is expansion. Like when we meditate together today, I want you to try a very interesting meditation while we do our Kriya Yoga. Every time you breathe, feel constriction. Every time you breathe out, feel expansion. So this is nimesa, me. And then exhale, this is us. The wealthiest people in the world say that the easiest way to make money is to expand. All of you have heard this. People who are successful with money say that money is energy. So if you get scared of an economic recession, it's like, that's constriction. And then the money level starts to go down. But if you recover your own energy, your energy buys money. All of you know this. Even if you're playing the accordion in the subway tunnel, the energy with which you play the accordion equals dollars or euros. All of you already know this. In other words, the paper bill has no energy. So where has your energy level been this week? I'm talking about all of us. The freer your energy, the more money comes. So as we meditate today, breath coming in is me, is limited. Breath going out is expansion. So look at this, only two movements in life: constriction, expansion. Constriction, expansion. In the Indian Vedas, it's called Nimesa, Unmesa. Nimesa, Unmesa. Your own breathing is constriction, expansion. Constriction, expansion. Every time you expand, money comes, because money is a slave to our own energy. The freer you are, the more money chases you. The more you chase money, the less money you have, because it constricts your energy.